How's it going, guys, and welcome to the Hopeful Homestead. Today's the last day that this land is gonna look like this because tomorrow is officially breaking ground day. And we are super excited to finally be able to say that. What a tremendous journey it's been to get to this point, as many of you know. But I wanted to come out here today and showcase this beautiful springtime day here in South Florida, out on the homestead, and give you guys a full tour of the property here before things start changing now. So I'm gonna put my drone in the air, show you guys some aerial shots, and drive around my Bronco and give you a full tour of the property, of where everything's gonna go and what we're gonna be doing. But yeah, this is officially the last day that this land will look like this. So excited. Let's go ahead and get in the Bronco. Right here. That's right, they've already got equipment out here. They've been staging equipment out here all week. And as you can see, they got a couple of dozers out here ready to do some work coming up here starting tomorrow. And my understanding is that they're gonna be digging the pond first, and I could be wrong on that, but I would imagine that would be one of the first steps because we're taking the dirt from the pond and moving it to the front of the property and using it to build up all the locations of the pad sites for all the structures. But yeah, that's what they're gonna do first, and gonna go from there. But let's go ahead and head around the property now and show you exactly what we're gonna be doing. All right, we're coming up on the driveway here. You can see this stake right here with the orange. Another stake over there with the orange. The driveway starts up at the road over there where those dead trees are right there. Those dead trees are gonna come down, and the driveway is gonna run straight through here directly towards what will be the main house up there eventually. But as I mentioned in a previous video, we are not building the main house yet. We had too many troubles with banks and appraisals, and so we are just paying cash out of pocket to build the tiny guest house and the barn and the garage, which are both metal buildings, which are very, very affordable to do. Everything will be hurricane grade, everything will be strong, and it'll be capable of getting us an occupancy permit, which is what matters. So that we can finally get out here, get some farm animals, buy some horses. I'm looking into getting some Texas Longhorns. I've really fallen in love with those. There's a little local ranch that has several of them here in our town, and they are beautiful and majestic. I would love to have a couple of those things here. And from what I understand, they are very good foragers, and they can deal with pretty much multiple kinds of vegetation with ease. So that'll work well for what grows here in Florida. Apparently they are used often as pasture ornaments. that's apparently the term people use when you just have one or two, just for the pure aesthetics of having a Texas Longhorn on your property. So that'd be pretty cool. And since my wife and I did live in West Texas for a couple of years, a few years back, and that's where our first daughter was born, I think it's fitting to have a Texas Longhorn out here. But I'm gonna take you guys down what would be the driveway right now towards eventually what will be the main house. Following along here, you can see up here that these little stakes start to curve. The driveway, I don't know if you can see out here, out there, there's stakes right here. This is where the main house will be, right there. The driveway approaches it and then starts to curve right here to the right as it passes around the side of the house. Let's see how it curves back towards the house. And we are now approaching the side of what will be the main house right there. You can see the pink flags on all of the pink tape on all those stakes. That's the main house right here. Right here will be our main house one day. And the driveway will run right along the side of it with a gravel parking lot right here. We'll be able to park several cars right on the side of the house with stair access to the front porch that wraps around the side right here by the gravel drive, which then continues on and will curve around this direction, sort of in a big looping maneuver off this way. As the driveway will curve, it'll run directly past the guest house. You can see right here, got little pink tape on these stakes here and right there. That is the guest house. A little 30-foot wide by, I think 20, if I remember correctly, 28-foot deep or 26-foot deep house. So it's gonna be a 7-foot deep by 30-foot wide porch on the front here, facing towards where we're sitting in the Bronco right now. It's gonna be beautiful. And we've got this guest house positioned to where the gravel driveway will pass directly in front of it, so you can step off the porch directly onto the gravel driveway. And we did that by design so that you can get to and from the guest house very easily by vehicle or by walking. And as you can see, the guest house is pushed up against my fence here, this is the fence that's bordering the wetland. So that whole area inside of this tree line is the wetland, one of the wetlands that we have on the property. And it's the biggest one. It's about 3.5 acres in size. And right now we've had a few rainstorms recently and it's pretty wet out there, and it's filled up, and the drainage easements actually run in and out of all the wetlands in this community. And it serves, ironically, as a way to prevent flooding. So it's sort of like God's natural planning for the way water runoff should flow. And as a result, our lot is actually not in a flood zone. It has zero flood risk, according to what I've looked up. And it's because all the water will run directly to the wetlands and collect in there and then filter from wetland to wetland via the drainage easements that interconnect all the wetlands. So it's actually a pretty nice setup that prevents flooding. But this is the guest house, the little 600 square foot, 2-bedroom, 1-bathroom guest house that has a nice big front porch that my wife and I and my 2 daughters are gonna live in temporarily while we build everything here and then work on building the main house after that. We're gonna continue around to what will be the 3-car detached garage. Coming around where these trees are right here. Ironically, these trees happen to be directly in the middle of where this garage will be. So you can see right there, that's the front left corner of the garage. Over here is the front right corner of the garage. And those trees are right smack in the middle of the garage, which is unfortunate, but you know, it is what it is. Those are gonna have to come down. And this is gonna be a 45-foot wide by 30-foot deep garage that has 12-foot ceilings with a 312 roof pitch. So you got a 15 or so foot high roof line in the center of the garage. We're gonna have 3 big 10 by 10 foot garage doors and a service access door, walk-in door here. And part of what I'm gonna do to be able to make our life not completely miserable in the 600 square foot guest house is I'm going to, once we get in here, get this garage built, it's gonna have a concrete slab foundation. I'm gonna get in there and build out through the area that has the access door and one of the garage bays. I'm gonna build out a whole playroom, an actual like full-on framed in, carpeted floor, you know, nice and air-conditioned playroom and office space. So we will be able to put an extra TV in there. There's gonna be power run to this garage. We're gonna put an extra TV in there, you know, pull-out couch, all of our girls', you know, toys and stuff that won't be able to fit into that little 600 square foot house. This will be their playroom, and me and my wife's full-size desks will go in here, and we will put our computer equipment in here and stuff. It'll be air-conditioned and dry, and so that we can have the extra space to offset what will be a tiny little guest house we'll be living in temporarily. And then this will be a nice little, you know, workshop space that'll be finished out with air conditioning for me to have in the garage going forward in the future. My daughters and I have talked about maybe turning that into like a movie room, like a movie theater room, you know, once we get everything else set up and we move into the main house. So got a lot of cool, fun things we could do with it. But for now, that's what we're gonna do with the garage. And then obviously the other 2 bays will be big storage area. We're gonna be able to put in our cars in there. If there's a hurricane, we can put all our vehicles inside and be able to make sure that we're safe from hurricane, because this will be 170 mile an hour rated metal building. Both the barn and the garage are gonna be 170 mile an hour wind ratings, which are awesome. And eventually when I get a tractor, I plan on getting a tractor and a tow behind brush hog attachment for the tractor and a front loading bucket to be able to move stuff around and keep all this stinking grass at bay. Because what I've been trying to use with the little tow behind brush hog that I use with my Bronco is not big enough, and it's just not strong enough to handle the job. So having a tractor and be able to store it inside of a garage here will be awesome. And as you can see, right up here is where the driveway ends. So the driveway starts up at the front, hooks down towards the main house, curves around it, hooks around this way in front of the guest house and swoops around to where the garage will be here. So as an infrastructure standpoint, it connects the front of the property, the road, to the main house, to the guest house, and of course ending at the garage. And so that helps with being able to move equipment around and, you know, get around on the property pretty easily. And then moving on from the garage up further towards the, you know, going up the side property line up back up towards the road up here, we're going to do a couple of different things. We aren't completely sure. I'm thinking I might make this area the, you know, about a 2 acre or so plot that I can put 1 or 2 Texas Longhorns in. I'm thinking about doing that. I know that won't necessarily be enough grass to feed the to meet the needs of those completely. So I'll need to supplement feed, but that's fine. And over this way, I'm thinking of putting either a fire pit or a gazebo or something right here in the middle. Not sure yet. This is a big open area that's sort of in the center of that looping driveway that's curves around. So it's kind of a cool spot to put something unique. So we're thinking about what we're going to do over there. I'm going to leave all these tall pine trees up at the front. I'm going to actually build a walking path. I'm planning on putting a mile-long walking path throughout the whole property that will actually weave in and out of those pine trees with tall grass around it. That'll be really beautiful. That would be awesome to have a mile-long walking path here that is gravel, that is maintained and well-kept, so that me and my family can always go out for a nice walk after dinner every night, just enjoy the property, and also serve as a way to be able to have an infrastructure that interconnects all the important locations of the property as well. But that's a project for the future. So let's circle back around and make our way over to where the barn will be and where the majority of the farm animals will be. And as you can see, this land is very knobby and bumpy. It is not smooth at all. Even though it's very flat, it is not smooth. And that is because this used to be cattle grazing territory for a while. And they chew up the ground, and they leave, cow pies everywhere that knot up with vegetation and create little thick portions of the terrain that make it difficult to traverse by vehicle. But we're coming up here on what will be the barn. As you can see right here, front right corner, back left corner, front left corner. And right here, center aisle barn is going to be a monitor style barn right here. And if you don't know what a monitor style barn is, open center aisle with a raised loft above it that tapers down to two lean-to sides that will extend off both sides. And this is going to be a 40 by 43 foot barn. It's going to be very big with, I believe, a near 20 foot high roof, so give enough space for a loft down the center aisle. Now, this will be a metal building, so it's going to be completely hollow on the inside with a concrete foundation. So I'm going to have to build out the inside of that with horse stalls, but we will have two big 14 by 10 garage doors on either end of the center aisle, and we will have a walk-in access door on the right side, and we're going to have 4 6 by 8, I believe, garage doors down this left side that open up into what will be a nearly 5-acre horse pasture paddock out here for grazing for the horses. And we're planning on having 4 horse stalls down the left side, and on the right side we're going to have an open area near the front of where you enter the center aisle here, an open area for smaller equipment and storage, and then also a bigger stall for other animals that are going to be located behind the barn. If we need to be able to protect them from a storm, we can bring them into there. And in the far back right side will be a tack room. And then, like I said, there's going to be a loft up above the center aisle that I'm going to have to build out with flooring and everything. It's going to be a huge project, but it's going to be a lot of fun to do. And that center aisle loft is going to be a barn gym. We're going to have all of our workout equipment upstairs in the loft of the barn, which is going to be awesome. And so that's the barn. It can be a nice white metal barn with black roof that matches the aesthetic of the main house, guest house, and the garage. Everything's going to be white siding with black metal roofing. It's going to be beautiful. But let's continue on around the barn here, passing the right side of the barn. Coming out of the back of the barn will be a horse arena. The idea here is you'll come out of the barn and there will be a perfect circular horse arena right here that I will level out, create a nice even level ground for riding that is safe for the horses to be able to work in, and it'll be a good place to be able to work on riding techniques and whatnot with the horses. It'll be a great place for my wife and I to hone our skills and really learn how to do what we're wanting to do out here. And we wanted that to be a separate place from the horse pasture of the actual paddock where they graze, because that's obviously bigger. This is going to be about a ½ acre or so. That's going to be a perfect circle, which will be great for doing that. And then beyond, perfect opposite of the barn, center aisle of the barn, will open up to the horse arena. And on the other side, we're going to have a run-in shed of some sort with some storage in it that will lead out to smaller fenced-in areas outside the back in this corner. So the horse arena will have fencing that will sort of curve around right here, and there will be chunks of smaller fenced-off areas around between the perimeter fencing I have here and the round horse arena fencing with the run-in shed right here that will have storage that will be able to have an access point to where we are going to keep chickens. We're going to have a chicken coop back here with several chickens. We might actually explore doing ducks as well if I put in a small little pond back here of some sort to be able to have water for them. And we're looking at potentially having a couple of goats and whatever else we think of in the future that we're going to be able to fit into the small areas back here. And then coming around through here is where we separate the civilized portion of the property from the less civilized portion of the property. Coming through the gate right there. And this is where I keep all the scrap that I've got built up from this, building the fence and trimming trees and whatnot. This is gonna be one epic bonfire one day. That's that brush hog over there that doesn't work very well. You can see the neighboring cattle over there that are being kept out by my fence. Very good. And moving along to a place you guys are very familiar with, the campsite. The tiny travel cabin that never goes anywhere, and the campsite. Needs some work. Got weeds starting to get warmer here, and the weeds are starting to grow pretty fast. And you can see that the wind has already knocked off my lights from those light poles, which is a bummer. And this side-by-side, unfortunately, does not work anymore, will not turn on. I have tried to get it started. I've done everything I can. It's got fuel. It's well within the age of the oil not being an issue. I think some sort of animal or critter got in there and chewed on the wiring because I've replaced the battery twice and it will not start now, which is a bummer. But yep, that's the campsite you guys are familiar with. This right here, this is the wetland over there that I was talking about, the 3.5 acre wetland right here. And it has the drainage easement that comes through this little dip where you can see where the fence dips down. That's the drainage easement that comes through, and it's a little creek that runs directly past the cabin here out the property to other wetlands on the neighboring lots. And so this is a little creek that sort of divides the back half of our property from the front half. And that's why I put this fence back here with a gate, because that fence is serving as a delineator between the front and back half of the property. And this little area, before we knew exactly what we were gonna do and where we were gonna put things on the property, we knew that this little area between the creek and the fence right there was a little bit of a no man's land. So that's why I built this campsite here and put the cabin here, because I knew we weren't gonna put any structures here or anything important. This is sort of a little no man's land. And it'll stay this way. But heading to the back of the property, where some of my personal favorite things are gonna be that are super awesome, and something that I probably should have showed you guys by now that I haven't, our full-size shooting range that I have not actually shown in any of my videos, ironically. We are crossing the creek now, you can see, crossing the creek over from the wetland. Beautiful, beautiful trees here with moss. Absolutely love it. I trimmed all those trees a couple weeks back because they were pretty overgrown. But all right, we are coming down to the back of the property here, and this is where I really fall in love with this place. Because when you come back here, there's about 7 or 8 acres worth of space behind the wetland here that is pinned in between the tree line of the back of our property that bumps up against some farmland, along with the 20,000 acre wildlife preserve that's over here. So this is where a lot of the wild animals wander onto our property, and this is where there will never be anything built up against us back here. Our neighbor's house is not really visible from back here. There's nothing built over here on these 2 lots, and we know the owner of those 2 lots, those 40 acres that are right here, 2 20-acre lots. I'm working on him so that, you know, whenever he's ready to sell at some point, I'm first in line. Then we'd be going from 21 acres to over 60 acres, which would be incredible. But we are in the back half now. That we are coming up on what will be our 1 acre pond, or like what I like to say is going to be our 1 acre lake. Because I looked it up, and apparently, by a lot of metrics out there, you can classify a body of water as a lake if it is at least 1 acre in size and at least 15 to 20 feet deep. And the deepest point of our lake is going to be over 15 feet deep, and it's a little over 1 acre in size. So this is a lake. I'm calling it a lake. But as you can see, that is one of the front points of the lake. The lake shoreline will curve around that way, and it wraps all the way around to the back corner over there and circles back up this way. So it goes around this way, all the way back to that tree line, continues around all the way around and up here and across. So this is going to be a huge body of water that will be a lot of fun. We're going to stock this thing full of fish, plan on having some largemouth bass in here, and a whole ecosystem hopefully that we'll be able to really get to be thriving, to be a forever protein source for us. So we can, you know, make sure we maintain this well and have fish at our disposal all the time. That's completely ours. We should be able to have quite a few fish living in a 1 acre lake. But Over here on the other side of the lake is the shooting berm and the full-size shooting range, which is where I will end this video at. But for now, I'm gonna take you guys to what will be my favorite place in the property here one day. We are pulling up on this little tiny wooded area right up on the lake shore here. You can see the lake shore stakes are right there. And right here amongst these trees will be a fishing cabin. My hope is that one day I can put a little fishing cabin here. I've got one of those shed building places that you can order custom sheds from that come pre-assembled, and they deliver it and set it down on cinder blocks and call it a day. It could have a little front porch. It can have a 6-foot by 16-foot front porch, and I think I'm going to do about 16 feet by 24 feet dimensions for the cabin. It's going to have an upstairs loft above the porch, and I'm going to have just an open layout in there that I will build out a small little bathroom, and this thing will be totally off-grid. It will not have any plumbing, any electrical run to it. It's going to be completely off-grid, but I will bring in a generator and some portable battery power stations to be able to power lights in it, to have porch lights and ceiling fans, and have air conditioning in it, much like what I've done with the cabin back here, the tiny cabin that's over where we film Coffee Talks. I'm going to do the same thing. That was a good learning experience for me, because now I know what to do to outfit a true off-grid cabin back here. And I'll put a composting toilet inside of that little bathroom, a little sink, hand washing station sink, for being able to have a clean and dirty water tanks inside of it. That's a self-contained water system that I can bring in water and use whenever I stay in the cabin or bring my girls to stay back here. But the idea, and let me circle around to show you what the view will be like from this thing. Circling around my fence, and pulling through all this thick tree area here. Pulling up right here to what will be the view from the porch. You know what? I'm gonna get out here, show you guys why I'm so excited about this. You cannot see, our neighbor's house is up here through the trees. You cannot see him at all. This is our big 3-acre wetland framing us in. You cannot see the road anywhere from back here. You just see cattle roaming the pasture behind our neighbor's lot over here. And you see cattle roaming those 40 acres that are uninhabited over there. And then right here's the tree line that has the 20,000 acre wildlife preserve. So this is a totally alone area that I can just escape to and completely call my own. Because if you see here, the shoreline for the lake will be literally steps right here. The shoreline will curve up right here and pass right along to those stakes right there. This huge, basically everything you see, all of this dirt and grass right here is going to be gone, and it's going to be moved to the front of the property to build up the foundations for everything. And this is going to be a massive lake. I'm going to get one of those roll-in docks. I don't know if you've ever seen those before. You roll in an aluminum frame dock with wood decking that's on wheels, so you don't need permitting. You can stick that right in there, lock it down, and have a fishing dock. And then right here where the Bronco is, the shoreline's right here. You come up from the dock and you got your big porch on a little cabin here that's overlooking that beautiful view of a big lake on your own property, privately backing up to nothing, just nothing, thousands and thousands of acres of nothing but woods out there here with wild animals that wander onto the property. And you can just sit on a porch here, camp out in the cabin, enjoy yourself. I'm gonna populate all around this cabin right here. I'm gonna plant all kinds of bigger pine trees to fill in all these gaps. I want to put some red maple trees back here, really get a lot of vegetation going so that it's really beautiful and feeling a little bit wooded right here. Because wouldn't that be incredible to have some red maples? I really want to try to figure out how to get a quaking aspen to grow up back here. I don't know if you know what those kind of trees are, but if you've ever been out in the west, in the mountains of like Colorado and Wyoming and Montana, quaking aspen trees are all over the place out there, and they are gorgeous. They're those tall, skinny, white bark trees that have those leaves that are kind of like oval pointed shape, and those leaves are on thin stems and they flap around in the wind, which is quaking. They quake, and that causes a quaking sound that is a flappy sound that is unique to quaking aspens that is really beautiful, and that's why they're called quaking aspens. And those those leaves turn bright yellow in the fall. And obviously red maples turn bright red in the fall. But here in Florida, we don't have fall. It's still kind of hot in October here, being that that's still prime hurricane season. But once you get to November, December, it starts to cool off. And ironically, once you get to January here in Florida, all of the leaves change color and start to fall off the trees in mid to late January. Of course, on trees that actually do shed their leaves. Most of the vegetation down here naturally does not shed its leaves. But if you have some red maples, which do survive down here, surprisingly, they do, they will change to red leaves and they will fall like you're up north in the fall. But just happens to happen in January, February here instead of the actual fall. For me, growing up in Virginia, that was one of my favorite parts of growing up in Virginia, was being able to have those beautiful fall, autumn days when it's crispy out and color galore everywhere in the trees. It's just gorgeous. And I can replicate that here just a little bit in the winter. In the dead of winter here, I get basically a 3-month long fall season where I've got beautiful leaves and all this grass. It gets really tall and becomes just golden, billowing grass that's just beautiful, no greenery. That mixed with some yellow quaking aspen leaves and red maples and pine trees back here, it's just gonna be absolutely incredible to sit on this porch and walk out over the dock, cast a fishing line into the lake, you know, catch dinner, bring it up and cook it inside the cabin, and just live that raw, authentic life that I am so excited to be living out here. And as of tomorrow, this won't be a big field anymore. This will start to become a lake. This property will start to become the Hopeful Homestead. But all right, rambling on. This is a really long video. I appreciate you guys, but I wanted to finally give you a full tour of what's going on out here and what we're actually planning on doing and showing you the scale of what is happening. So to close this video out, we're gonna cross the lake in the Bronco. This will be the last time I can drive across this part of the property before it's a lake, and go show you the full-size shooting range, which is actually, ironically, the first thing we ever put out here on the property. When we rented a skid loader, came out here and built this shooting berm and put a full shooting range out here, and it's been a lot of fun. And maybe one day I'll actually take you guys shooting there and make a video there, but let's go check it out. And we are now driving through the lake. Coming down this way, you can actually see that I have put a smaller target here. This is a 12-inch plate, steel plate, and a, I think, 8-inch steel plate right there, with a small shooting berm. There's a little berm behind it that is actually going to be just outside of the perimeter of the lake here. So the idea is this is going to be my rifle targets that I can shoot at from the other side of the lake, way over there, which will result in about 100 yards. So I'll be able to have a 100-yard range shooting across water at some steel plates that has a little berm that's, you know, good for rifle practice. So I haven't really used that much yet, but once we get everything set up here with a lake and I can stand on the shoreline over there and put some sort of shooting table over there, it'll be fun to be able to take a couple of rifles out here and practice 100 yards with rifles shooting across water. It'd be pretty fun. Passing along here, when I was building the fence, I had a little tent garage right here. I don't know if you can see that. That's a tent garage that's all mangled up now. It was right here, and it's what I stored all of my equipment in when I was building the fence, and a tornado came through and mangled that up and tangled it like crazy. So I've marked it with pink tape to hopefully have the excavators remove and clear out for us. But all right, here we are at the shooting range. All right, this is also one of my pride and joys. As you can see, I haven't cleaned up all the scrap from prior shooting sessions that we've had with some friends out here. It's a lot of fun shooting, shooking up 2 liters and soda cans. But as you can see, got a nice big shooting berm here that's probably a good 10 or 12 feet high. And it is a good 10 to 12 feet thick too. I mean, this is a big old shooting berm that we put in with a skid loader. And a nice leveled out, overgrown currently, but leveled out surface area here to be able to have. This is a perfect little pistol range. Got some hanging plates and some flip down, knock down and flip back targets over here. This is the station I like to shoot 22 at because this has got some self-healing blast bottles that I shoot at with 22, and then I put a bunch of fruit or soda cans on these shelves and shoot at those. And whenever I need to maintain this, you can see you got all these 22 bullet holes here. I just replace these boards whenever they get knocked, torn up from too many bullets hitting them. But I try to save this to only be for 22. That way, oh yeah, and I've got a little cowbell to shoot at that's 22 rated as well. So that's my little stand for all the plates and whatnot for shooting my 45 Colt lever gun and revolver. And then I've got, this is starting to really show some age here. I need to really rebuild this sucker. This wood is starting to rot out, but these are some nice flip back targets that I like to shoot at with 45 Colt. They're a lot of fun. They make a real loud gong sound when you hit them. And over here I've got a couple more 8-inch plates hanging on some T-posts and a torso target with a hostage plate. So you got the hostage scenario where you got a hostage here with a target, sticking out over the shoulder. You can work on aiming and knocking that hostage plate, and then also shooting for center mass if you want to as well, being that it is a torso plate. But as you can see, weeds growing like crazy. These are the weeds that grew here from last year that have died. But you can see just how tall this thing is. It's a big shooting berm over there. It's a lot of fun being able to have this here as a way of practicing with firearms and being able to bring family and friends out here and having a true full-size shooting range to be able to practice with. Oh look, got some brass. I know all you guys who like to reload are gonna kill me because you always give me crap in the comments because I don't save my brass. I will eventually, but for now I'm sure there's plenty of 357 and 38 special and 45 Colt and 22, plenty of all that sitting out here. Oh look, little 12 gauge. But I kept a couple of just picnic tables out here, shooting tables that I've set all my gun cases down on, and obviously I used to keep some of the plates up here that it's rusted. This stuff's all been out here for a while. This stuff has been here for 3 years, but it's been a joy. And as you can see around the perimeter of this thing is a little T-post fence that has some field fencing wiring along it. And that was put in before I built my wood fence. And I tried to protect this shooting range from the cattle because the cattle were going to get in here and tear up all my targets and whatnot. And so I put this T-post fence in with this field fencing, and that did nothing. And the cattle just mangled right through it. The cattle would actually walk up the back of the shooting range, of the shooting berm, and like fall down the embankment here. That's a pretty steep drop off. I guess they would just fall down and get stuck in here. Some of the smaller cows, the calves, would get stuck in here and not be able to get out. And it caused all kind of havoc, and they mangled this whole thing. And that's one of the moments that I was realizing, okay, I need to build a fence. And when I started building a fence, I was actually right here where I was with my Bronco, and that big cow, that big bull, chased me around my Bronco 3 laps, and I had to take out my 45 Colt revolver and fire at its feet, and that got it to stop. But that's the spot right here where that famous story occurred that I've told many times on this channel. But yeah, that's our shooting range in all its glory. So one day I'll be able to come back here and shoot Lakeside. Can't wait for that, with a nice fishing cabin on the other side of the lake. Just mind-blowing that all this is possible. And every day I literally come out here. I spend a lot of time out here just praying and thanking God for the opportunity to own this land. And I want to be a good steward of it. I want to turn it into something that is truly wonderful for my family, for my wife and my girls, first and foremost, but then for our extended family, all of our friends that are basically like family through our family restaurant business that work for us there, hosting team parties here and being able to gather. This place, this Hopeful Homestead, is going to be a place that truly serves as a central gathering point that we hope people will feel loved through it. I plan on growing a lot of fruit, growing food out here, and just giving that away to friends and family so that they have free organic food. If I eventually can get these 2 lots right here, this 40 acres right here, if I can get my hands on that and buy that one day, that'll be where I raise cattle. I will embark on becoming a full cowboy at that point. I will be actually learning to raise cattle over there is my long-term crazy goal. If we can get our hands on that much acreage over there and be able to actually raise beef and have nice, fresh, homegrown beef, organic meat, organic fruits and vegetables out here, and be able to just dote on our family and friends with all of that. Yes, my family, my wife and I and our girls will live a wholesome life through it here, but our friends and family will benefit from it as well. That's the hope and the dream. Can't wait for that to become a reality finally. But all right, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate you being here. Again, my name is Chad. This is the Hopeful Homestead, and I will see you in the next video. Now you've seen everything that we plan to do here on this 21-acre property we're calling the Hopeful Homestead.